Welcome to the Zweig Letter Podcast, putting architectural, engineering, planning, and environmental consulting experts straight talk in your ear. These podcasts deliver great interviews with industry leaders and Zweig Group's 3 decades of invaluable research, leadership, management, marketing, client, and HR advice directly to you, free of charge. The Zweig Letter Podcasts let you develop personally and professionally, wherever you are.
Hey folks, and welcome to another episode of the Zweig Letter Podcast. I'm your host, Randy Wilburn, and I'm excited that I've got a great episode for you today. I'm here with none other than Renee Azerbegi from Ambient Energy. Renee is the president of Ambient Energy, and she was recently at a Principals Academy event that we had in Aspen, Colorado, and we got a chance to hang out with her and several other amazing individuals from around the country. And I invited Renee to come on the podcast today to just talk with us a little bit about what's happening in her neck of the woods. Ambient Energy is a third-party consulting firm specializing in commissioning, energy analysis, and sustainable design services to deliver high-performance solutions for new and existing commercial buildings. They have offices in Denver and San Francisco, and they are working towards a resilient and regenerative built environment with buildings that have a positive environment and social impact on the world. That's amazing. You guys are really doing some cool things in the area of renewable energy and commissioning. So Renee, welcome to the Zweig Letter Podcast. We're so glad to have you on the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about, there are a couple of things I would love to chat with you about. I would love to just kind of hear a little bit about you and your background. I know that you are a Northern California person, and you grew up just outside of Oakland in Orinda, California, and the Bay Area, which is a place that's near and dear to my heart. So I certainly have to talk with you a little bit about that. But tell us a little bit about your superhero origin story. Tell us a little bit about Renee.
Okay. Well, I grew up, in Northern California in the hills in Berkeley, and before moving to Orinda, and we just, we went out a lot. There was a Lake Anza, right where we could walk to, and spend a lot of time at the animal farm there, and just going to the beach and appreciating nature a lot. So I think that that helped. The more you get out, the more you sort of appreciate nature and want to protect it. And then I think I started, I did a science project like in 8th grade on how to capture wave energy. And then in high school, I was, starting up a environmental club called the Environment Now Club in my high school. So I think I was always, from that experience, always feeling like leading the way in terms of sustainability. They didn't have recycling in my high school. It's amazing that still schools in Colorado too don't recycle. So I can't believe we're still there. This is like 20 years ago, but I was shocked that we didn't recycle. So there's still a long ways to go in school districts in that regard and other things. And then in college at Berkeley, just was into environmental causes and ended up with environmental science and cultural geography degree. Went back to get my master's in building systems engineering in CU Boulder because I was really interested in the energy side of things. But I've always been somewhat of an environmentalist, I guess, which helps.
Yeah, you can't, you certainly cannot escape it when you live in the Bay Area. I spent 6 years there, and I became an earthy, crunchy environmentalist in my time there, and it has lasted till this day. And it's been over almost 20 years since I've been gone from the Bay Area, but it really had an indelible impression on me. I live not far from where you grew up in the Berkeley Hills off of Grizzly Peak, and recycling was never a way of life for me before I moved to California, Northern California. And then once I got there, it totally changed my mindset. It changed my thinking. And it does cause you just to be more aware. And I am, just what you said is so true about even today with all the knowledge and information that we have, communities, entities still struggle with this whole idea of renewable energy and recycling and, really trying to be a better steward for the earth. And I always enjoy talking with people that work at firms like Ambient Energy, because you guys are really coming up with some new ways to create a sustainable environment and obviously you got your work cut out for you, but there's so much that you can do in so many ways that you can impact both, public and private organizations to really, benefit from being a better steward for the earth and stronger in the area of renewables and, just how they manage their facilities. So I'm sure you have story after story that you can tell about how you've been able to change people's minds in this area and help them see the benefits of doing things differently.
Right, absolutely. I mean, I think a lot of it has to do with starting with education. Like when we talk about energy and people don't know what EUI is, which is a term that we use day to day, energy use intensity. It's total energy per square foot per year in your building, and how you compare energy of buildings of the same kind to each other. And a lot of our codes just say you just have to meet code for energy, for example. But if we want to talk about, well, how do you make a net zero energy, we really need to start thinking about the total energy consumption in our buildings and know how to speak that language. It's exciting that projects and RFPs, even public ones, are now, we're seeing more and more that ask for net zero energy or one water or net zero water, and really pushing the envelope with different rating systems like LEED Platinum or Living Building Challenge. So it's really exciting to work on those projects that are trying to do the most they can to be sustainable. When we talk about regeneration, we're talking about, not just net zero, but how do you impact the earth so that it has a positive effect on the environment, not a negative one. So maybe you're producing a little bit more energy than you need, or you're cleaning the water more than it was before, or and looking at biodiversity of plant life and how do you attract plant life and animal life to survive in a built world. So that's kind of what we're talking about in our really exciting, high-performing projects. Not all of them are there. Some of them are still just trying to meet code. And code's getting stricter. So that's helpful, because the codes are supposed to be by 2020 net zero residential in California. That's just around the corner. And then 2030, we're supposed to be having codes that are net zero by 2030. So it's pretty exciting to be in this field right now.
Wow. So yeah, and obviously you don't do any residential work, right? I mean, everything you do is commercial for the most part.
We'll do multifamily. We've done a couple projects here and there that are like net zero residences, but primarily we have done commercial work and multifamily. We're working on a huge over 800,000 square foot apartment building right by downtown Union Station in Denver, for example. And, I think we're going to get LEED silver, but there might be a chance for gold. And we're doing some commissioning. We're helping them save energy, things like that. So.
Okay. All right. Well, and then for those in our audience that might be a little not in the know when it comes to LEED, could you give us just a bare bones understanding of the difference between like LEED Platinum and LEED Gold, and why we should even care about that, when it comes to the buildings that we are creating nowadays?
Sure. As I mentioned, the codes are getting better and better, and LEED is a green building rating system that tries to recommend things that are beyond code, better than code, and look at not just energy and water, but materials, waste, indoor air quality, health, and promote healthy buildings. It encompasses many different things: sustainable sites, and how you get to your building in regards to public transportation, encouraging that sort of thing, and biking. So it's a really comprehensive rating system, and they keep pushing the envelope with a new version out every 3 or 4 years. LEED version 4 is the latest one, and LEED Platinum is really hard to get because the LEED Platinum in the prior version, which was called LEED version 2009, some people call it LEED V3, that's about the same as a LEED Gold in LEED version 4. So a LEED Platinum in version 4 is tough to do. We've worked on the first LEED Platinum project in Colorado at the Fort Collins Utility Administration Building. And it's also the threshold of points. It's about 20 points more, while the other between certified silver and gold, there's only a 10-point difference. So you have to get 20 extra points to go from gold to platinum. So a gold platinum building is exciting, and it's hard to do. One thing that I've heard, now it hasn't been released, but I'm hoping it passes, is I don't know if I can release. I've heard that the executive order for the city and county of Denver, they want to say you have to pursue LEED Platinum and justify why you can't do it and why you can only meet gold if that's a potential. So that'll be interesting to see if that ends up really in writing. I'm still waiting for it to come out, but that's what I heard they're trying to push. So if that happens, our buildings will be even greener. And that's for city buildings, that is, city and county owned buildings. And San Francisco has a LEED Gold requirement for their city buildings as well. So pretty tough to do.
Yeah. And you've done a number of city related projects, right? I know back in the day you did something one of your projects was the Denver Justice Center. And is that considered a city building?
Yes, the Denver Justice Center is a courthouse, a detention center, a post office, and parking garage. 3 projects, really, with 3 different design teams. And that was kind of our first big project in 2005, 2006. And first city project. And that was a great experience to work on those buildings. I think 2 of them got silver, and one of them got gold. The courthouse got gold, a gold certification. And that was one of the first Denver, City and County Denver LEED projects at the time. But very, very significant projects that really showed that LEED is possible. You can do really good things. Back then, it was only LEED silver was the requirement. So they've already pushed it up to gold now.
And I'm just curious about that particular building, since we have over a decade of data. What have you gone back to look at the environmental impact of that, the footprint of that building, and if it has achieved the goal that everyone thought it would achieve when you guys designed it originally?
I think that it being one of the first really significant buildings at the time, getting to LEED silver and gold again was a challenge in its own right. I had wished at the time that a lot of our energy efficiency recommendations would be implemented at the time, and some of them got cut out. But then I heard that there was a retro commissioning study, like an energy study post construction during occupancy, that said, well, you should really recommend these few energy efficiency measures that we had already recommended back in the design phase. So I was like, well, that's kind of funny. It would have been cheaper to do it in the beginning. The issue that I have with LEED and in public buildings is, unless they say you need to meet this percentage on energy, there's not really any requirement for the design teams to save a lot on energy if they don't have to. So just saying LEED Gold and you have to save 20 to 30% on energy, it is not as good as if they had that energy requirement, because I could have probably got those measures in if there was some sort of energy requirement. I also hear that the city's thinking about having certain policies that say, well, these certain LEED credits are important to us and we have to meet those. And so, I think they've had that, but it hasn't been very strict at all. Not very hard to do. So that's really what's going to push the envelope there with energy and water.
Yeah, it's different when you're spending the taxpayers' money as opposed to a private firm's money, right? Because I would imagine that some private companies are like, listen, the more you can save us in energy, the better off we'll be. So there's probably a different conversation that takes place like that.
Right. And, when there's capital budgets and then there's energy budgets that come out of a different bucket, and the two groups don't talk to each other, it's hard to bring that synergy together. Like, well, these measures are actually going to pay for themselves over time, and you're going to own this building forever anyway. So it makes a lot of sense to invest in energy efficiency strategies, because those are the energy and water helps pay back, while other measures like, Forest Stewardship Council, green wood doesn't necessarily have a payback, but it's still good to do,
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So tell me a little bit, because you've been described as a straight shooter, a perfectionist. you get there are a lot of tags that have been attributed to you as an individual, as an engineer. And I'm just curious to know, and especially this is really for the women that are listening to this podcast and young ladies that are wanting to get into the engineering field, or that are pursuing a STEM career. Well, what's your advice to them, and what have been the biggest challenges for you, and how have you overcome them to achieve what you guys have achieved? You have some valuable information to share, especially with young women coming into their own that want to get into engineering, and the why should they, and
Yeah.
how to deal with that, because it is still a very male, and I'm so reminded of it. It's still a very male dominated industry. And I'm just curious to know, because I think when you came to the TPA, were you were the only woman in that? No, was there another woman? I think there may.
Yeah, I know. I was the only woman, other than the Zweig white people there. I was the only woman in a group of like 20 principals. I was just chuckling. I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is so funny."
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's a good example. I mean, Zweig white represents the AEC community, and here one principal is a woman out of 20 for this training in Aspen, which was fun. But I just thought that was kind of hilarious. And we're still there, But yeah, I definitely experienced a little bit of, I don't know. I would just say, if for the women out there, don't let anyone tell you can't do it. If you really want to do engineering, do engineering. If you want to start, one of the reasons I started my business is because some guys told me, "Oh, you can't do that, Renee." Like, I wanted to start a sustainability department at my last company. And they're like, "Oh, I don't see the economics of that. It's not going to be good for the company." And I said, "Okay, well, I can go do that on my own, the energy and sustainability bit." So that's kind of how Ambient started 14 years ago. And I don't know if it had anything to do with the fact that the majority of the board members were men, but I don't know. It could be that they really didn't think I had a good business proposition because I didn't know how to write a business plan. I was an engineer, So it could have been that I didn't write a very good business plan too. So I don't really know why, but
yeah. How did you? Oh, and I'm curious to know, how did you overcome that aspect of it? Actually, putting together what ultimately became a solid business plan. I mean, you guys are almost 30 employees now, and growing, and you've got 2 offices, both one in Denver, one in San Francisco. So, I mean, that's nothing to sneeze at. You have, and like you said, in 14 years, you've developed something considerable. But what went into that, do you think?
I think, just not wanting to say no to business. I didn't really know where I was going when I started this for the first few years. And then we just got more and more work. And then I was like, "Oh, okay, we're going to actually turn this into a real company." Okay. It wasn't like my intent to start a big firm. It just, we just kept getting work. So, and then I got a really good business partner, Linda Morrison, from 6 months from starting the company. And she's really helped grow it and be that sort of guiding force that if I have crazy ideas, she sort of helps me bring it back to reality. And she's been very supportive and helpful. And now we have 2 other team leaders and that are doing well. And I'm hoping to branch out the company and provide more ownership to some of the staff too. So that's kind of what I'm working on now. What's the next step? So.
Oh man, that's awesome. That's awesome. So, I'd just be curious to know, what are some of the bigger projects coming down the pipeline for you guys, or what are you working on right now that really has you excited?
Yeah, there's a couple projects that are, there's quite a few projects that are fun. I enjoy what I do, so it's hard to not be excited about projects. But the ones that are pushing the envelope, Denver Water, they're redeveloping their campus, and they're going for LEED Platinum for their admin building, Net Zero Energy, One Water, and then all their other buildings are LEED certified to a high level. So that's been a fun one to work on because they're pushing the envelope and changing water laws to get things done so that other agencies and organizations can replicate in Colorado, because we have weird water laws here. And then in San Francisco, working on San Francisco International Airport, and they are Terminal 1. They're doing a lot to set the bar and be innovative. And they're always trying to push new technologies. And they're also going for LEED Platinum or Gold, but they're really doing a lot of things more above and beyond most agencies. They have their own sustainability guidelines that you have to meet, and there's just a lot going on there with commissioning and doing new things. They're really interested in developing new processes and procedures to push the envelope, which is kind of fun. And then DIA we're doing a bunch there too at Denver International Airport. DEN now, and they are we're working on their concourse expansions, and we finished their Great Hall. Their hotel and transit center, which achieved LEED Platinum. So we're doing a lot of that there, and they're also trying to figure out how green they want to be and how showy do they want to be in terms of sustainability. We're looking at some fun options for the concourse expansions, which are like electrochromic glazing or PV in the glazing or PV on the roof, or will we do a solar farm out in the middle of nowhere? So these are all things that are yet to be determined, but it'll be interesting to see what DEN decides to do and how green they want to sort of represent the airport to be visually.
Yeah, that's actually one of the prettiest airports that I've ever been to. I mean, it looks so cool when you're driving to it from downtown Denver. It's like, man, it just sits out there majestically in a big open area. So,
yeah. Have you seen the new hotel yet?
No. What hotel is that?
That's very visually interesting as well. It's right in front of the airport, and it's sort of trying to complement, yet it's right in front of the airport. So that's sort of interesting. If you look that up, it's actually on our website too. But it's this interesting design that that's trying to complement the airport. But there's lots of people saying like what it looks like, and it's just been interesting politically too.
Oh, okay. I'll have to look that up then for sure.
Yeah.
What hotel chain is it? Do you know?
It's Westin.
So, oh yes, I've been in there. I have actually. I had a long layover in Denver, and I went in there and actually had a meal. It was really nice. The food's actually pretty good there. So, but okay,
yeah,
I know exactly what you're talking about. So, well, cool. Yeah, we'll put a link to the show notes in there so people can see what you're talking about. Cool. Get an idea. So, yeah. Now, so tell me this: Are you going back to? Do you go back to Cal to do any alumni work with the School of Engineering? Do you how do you give back to the engineering community from that perspective, especially for the young people coming out of school right now?
Well, we personally we're like life alumni members of Cal and also CSU, where my husband went, and CU Boulder. But that's just paying money, right? So, but also we moved into Auraria Higher Education Campus at Metro State University into their new Aerospace and Engineering Sciences building. We're on the 4th floor in a whole floor of public-private partnership. So that's been pretty amazing. And we're taking on a couple of interns in the engineering building. So our first one is a Sustainable Engineering Systems graduate. He's going to be the first one in that program. And we're going to train him in commissioning and to see where that goes. And then we're going to bring on a sustainability intern as well. And we're trying to look for more opportunities to partner with Metro State University. We actually have like a memorandum of understanding to work together. So that's been pretty fun. Again, we just moved in January. And the building is LEED Gold, and our space, we're pursuing the WELL building standards on our space too, which is kind of fun too. It's a great big open office area with a big living wall and other fun green amenities too. It's right on public transit too, so we can take a lot of us take light rail to work, and we got eco passes, so free public transportation passes for everyone, and it's been really nice to have that change.
Oh man, and you live in a state that Denver gets 300 days of sunshine a year, some ridiculous amount like that. Yep. So there's that too. So all those benefits, all of those great benefits rolled up into one. So so I guess my next question would simply be, I'd be curious to know what were some of your big takeaways. And we don't normally talk about our events that we do on the podcast, but since you were at the Principals Academy that we recently had in Aspen, we do 4 of these kind of like MBA boot camp events each year, and the 4th one will actually take place as of the recording of this particular podcast. The fourth one is in October in Charleston, South Carolina, which should be fun. And we actually have a large contingent of people that will be there. But I'm just curious to know, what was your big takeaway from the Principals Academy? Did you get any aha moments, or was there anything that really that you've actually taken back and tried to implement since you were in Aspen in June?
Yeah, absolutely. We had I'm sort of trying to summarize the whole thing, because the whole thing was just great and it was such good information. I was bummed I didn't know about this about 14 years ago, because I could have set up the company a little bit better. But I learned that we actually are set up pretty well, and we are pretty organized as a company. But I also learned a lot of invaluable tips and tricks to take to my team. So I'm setting up 3 different presentations. I've already done one of them to kind of download the people that need to know, our other team leads and our marketing BD person. I'm trying to tell them what they need to know, basically, without giving them 2 days of PowerPoint presentation. I'm summarizing it into 3 1.5 hour sessions. So that's been really good, because then it's good for me to go as the owner, because they don't need to know all of that. They just need to know what they need to know, right? So I still have to do the other 2, but I think I have to do one in 2 weeks and then another month after that. I did learn that if you do it all in one chunk, it's just overwhelming and too much information to try to summarize. So yeah, it's been great. I really enjoyed it.
Oh, good. Well, good. I'm glad. It was great to have you, and that was just a really good group. Certainly, as when we facilitate those, we feed off the energy of the participants in the room, and you guys were a really, really cool group to be with. So thank you for that information and feedback. So if there's, obviously, if there's ever anything that you need as far as kind of implementation wise, we're always here to help. And that goes for anybody listening to this podcast, that, we're anybody that's going through trying to grow their organization in the design space. I mean, the benefit that we have is, we have access to people like Mark Zweig, who've been there and done that for years. And, he's got the t-shirt to prove it, taken 2 firms to the Inc. 500 list on multiple occasions. So this is something that we know about in terms of running a company and keeping it profitable and making it sustainable, no pun intended, for the long term. So yeah, certainly we'd love to be able to help you out, those of you that are listening. And Renee, we're glad that you got something out of the Principals Academy a couple of months ago. So that's awesome. So I guess as we wrap up, we've been on here almost 30 minutes now, and certainly I want to be mindful of your time, and we really appreciate you taking the time to just share a little bit about what you are doing at Ambient Energy, and kind of like what your story has been. I'd be curious to know just a little bit about what are some of your biggest challenges that you're facing right now, that maybe something that you see with other firms in the industry space. What are some of your biggest concerns with regard to the design industry and where you guys are going as a company? If you have any, I don't know.
Sure. I think we all have our challenges. I think our challenge is just that we've pretty much been overcoming, is to make sure we hire the best and the brightest and the ones that really care and want to stay for the long term. We've been better and better at doing that. And then another one is just, with that, you have to make sure that you have a great space, you have great benefits, people are happy. So that's really what we've been trying to focus on. And then another one is just making sure we meet our goals of growth and whatever. I mean, we just moved into a new space. So I have a challenge personally, and also in California, to grow it so that they're full, right? So I've got a challenge to fill up my 2 spaces, because we moved into 2 new spaces within 3 months. So I've got some growth just to fill the seats, but that'll come with time. I'm not stressed about it at all. What else? I think that's about it. Making sure our clients are happy and continue to look at us as the best service providers in the areas that we work.
Okay. Well, that's perfect. That's perfect. If you wanted to, as we close out, if you wanted to just give a quick, 15-second elevator pitch, why would somebody hire Ambient Energy? If I'm in, the greater San Francisco area or in, somewhere in Colorado, why would I hire you if I'm about to build a building? What real benefit, tangible benefit would you bring to the table for me as a private, if I'm a private developer and I'm trying to build something?
Sure. Well, if you're a developer and you want to make sure to maximize your incentives, for example, we do a lot of work working with owners to maximize incentives for efficiency, so that you can pay for efficiency measures through utilities, through the federal government. There's lots of different financing mechanisms, like PACE is a new one. There's a tax incentive for energy. There's lots of Xcel Energy rebates. So we'd help you with that to help pay for energy improvements. Also, just looking at what kind of owner developer are you and what kind of people are going to be occupying your space and working there. So some might care if you're in a LEED building or not. Some developers believe that you have to be in a LEED certified space to be Class A. So if you're building Class A office space, for example, you probably have to do LEED. To what level might depend on who you're trying to attract. So thinking about who's going to be in your space and how much would they care. One private developer that is in Denver, he's building luxury condos that are pursuing the WELL building certification because he believes in the health and wellness benefits of WELL, and he wants his tenants to be in healthy spaces. So, I mean, developers are doing this, even the private ones, not just the public ones that are required. We're working with Google right now in Boulder, and they're doing LEED, and they're doing their own requirements. They have their own set of requirements as well, and we're helping them through that process because, they're Google. They have to do it, right? So it's definitely not just for public buildings. A lot of commercial developers are doing it too, which is exciting.
Yeah. Yeah, everybody's getting into it. So that's a perfect sample of how you can help somebody be more efficient in the projects that they undertake to whatever types of buildings that they want to build. Lastly, because I'm just curious about this, since this is the space that you work in, is your home. What have you done to your home to make it renewable and to make it energy efficient? I'm just curious to know if I'd like to learn something from you as far as that's concerned.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. We are in a net zero electric home, which,
oh my gosh,
which means that we produce more electricity than we consume. We have two different sets of solar panels, about, I'd say, 4 kilowatts total. And we also have solar hot water heating panels. When we redid our kitchen and our bathrooms, we used sustainable local products wherever we could find them, and low VOC. So we really thought about, every product has to be green. It's the same way with our office. Every product that we have has to be green in some way. It's just because we walk the talk, and we believe in it. So, I think one debatable thing in Colorado is about natural gas versus electricity. So we still use natural gas for our boiler system that serves our baseboard heating and our domestic hot water, but a lot of that's offset in the summer pretty much entirely by our solar water heating panels. But we're okay with using some natural gas. Some people say you should switch your natural gas to all electric, but in Colorado, we're still not, I don't think, green enough to do that until our electricity grid is more green, less coal, for example. We'll do that when it's the right time, but I'm not convinced it's the right time to do that yet. But others in the environmental community are, so it's kind of a big debate.
Okay. Yeah, very cool. Very cool. Well, that's awesome. Now you got me excited. We just purchased a new house, and I want to do some things to it. And I don't know if we'll be able to get the solar panels and all that, but we'll have to look into those options. So I'm assuming that means you get a credit back from the electric company. Is that correct?
I actually get a check. It's not for very much. I get a check for $2 to $4 every month from Xcel Energy.
Wow, that's cool. So instead of having to pay an electric bill, you get a check in the mail.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's fun.
Well, there you have it, folks. Renee is walking the walk and talking the talk. So, Renee, we really appreciate you taking some time out of your busy schedule to be on the Zweig Letter Podcast today. Thank you so much for sharing with us. And if people want to reach out to you and just connect with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Sure. They can email me at razorbagy@ambient-e.com.
Yeah, I will put a link out. Yeah, it is a long one, and some people may misspell it, but I will put it. All the information for Renee will be on the show notes. I'll actually even link to her LinkedIn profile so that you can learn a little bit more about her and about Ambient Energy and all the amazing things that they're doing both in Colorado and in California. And anybody that wants to connect with her, feel free to do so. And we'll certainly make that happen in the show notes. So, but again, thank you so much for being on the Zweig Letter Podcast. We really, really appreciate it. And I look forward to connecting with you again in the near future.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been great. Thanks, Randy. It's good to connect with you again.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, that's great. Well, folks, there you have it. Renee Azerbegi from Ambient Energy, based in Denver, Colorado, but they also have an office in San Francisco. They're doing some amazing things when it comes to commissioning and renewable energy and energy analysis. And certainly I would encourage you to reach out to Renee if you ever have any questions about what they're doing and what's next on the plate for those guys. So thank you so much for listening to the Zweig Letter Podcast. As always, we're here to serve your needs in the design industry. Our goal is to elevate the industry with new discussions, new thoughts, new ideas. And just like this episode today, that's why we do the Zweig Letter Podcast on a regular basis for you. Thank you so much for listening. Also wanted to let you know and remind you that we always have a gift for you, because what would be a relationship without giving something? And that gift is essentially a copy of the Zweig Letter, a digital version of it on a weekly basis. The Zweig Letter has run continuously since 1992. It is an outstanding newsletter for the design space. And I can't think of 12 pages that I prefer to read every week, which is the Zweig Letter. And it comes out every Monday at noon. And you can get it for free. Just visit zweiggroup.com. That's ZWEIG group.com and click on the Zweig Letter icon and just add your name and your email, and that's it. There's no spam. There's no nothing. You'll get a nice PDF copy of the Zweig Letter Podcast every Monday, and you can share it with your office. If you want to sign up your whole office, you can do that as well. So just encourage you. That's our gift to you, the listener, and we really appreciate you listening to this podcast. And also just want to let you know that this podcast is available on a wide variety of formats, including Stitcher and SoundCloud, Google Play. You can get it on iTunes, of course. And if you get a chance on whatever platform you use for podcasting, please give us a review and a rating. We love 5-star reviews and ratings. And remember, sharing is caring. So share this podcast with a friend if if it has impacted you in any way. And keep the process moving. We want to get this podcast out into as many hands as possible in the design industry. So I'm your host, Randy Wilburn, and once again, you've been listening to the Zweig Letter Podcast. Listen, I hope you go out and have a wonderful day and continue to elevate the design industry one step at a time. Take care, and bye for now.
Thanks for tuning in to this Zweig Letter Podcast episode. If you want more wisdom and inspiration, in addition to information about M&A, strategic planning, HR, and marketing your firm, subscribe now to the digital version of the Zweig Letter free of charge. Just visit thezweigletter.com/subscribe and leave your email address. Your free subscription will begin immediately.